Hello, my name is Rick. I don't really know where to start. I guess I'll just tell you a little bit about myself. I'm 24 years old and I'm from California, upstate. I love being outside in nature and I like living life a bit on the wild side. Anything adventurous. If you need someone to do something dangerous or just shut up crazy, I'm your guy. I also love to travel. That's what got me into this mess in the first place. I was driving down the road in my RV, just taking in that cool summer's breeze when my RV started shaking. At first, I just ignored it, but after a while, I knew I had to stop and see what was wrong. When I pulled up the hood and smoke started coming out, I instantly knew there was something wrong with my battery, but I'm not a mechanic, so I didn't exactly know what was going on. I tried to call roadside assistance, but there was no signal. So, with no other options, I went to Google Maps and looked up what was the closest gas station or restaurant near me. It told me there was a diner not too far away from me, about 1 hour away. Great, I thought. I grabbed a bag and started heading towards the diner. While I was walking, I noticed how beautiful the landscape was. I noticed it in the RV, but when you're in a car, you have to pay more attention to the road. When you're walking, you can look around more. I noticed how large and open the fields were and how grass the green was. I noticed how the cows and horses were grazing and how beautiful everything looked. I noticed that the corn was growing so big on the stalk that some of them busted open and you could see the yellowness of it. After a few miles of walking, I finally made it to the diner. It was a small little place just off the side of the road. It had a nice sized parking lot with a few cars in it. When I walked into the diner, I noticed there was a few people inside. On one booth, there was an old man sitting where I could resume was his adult daughter and his grandson. At the second booth, there was a middle-aged man eating a burger, and at the third booth, there was an older couple and their two adult children. Waitress, who seemed to be about my age, walked up to me and asked me what can she do for me. I asked her to use their phone because I was stranded and I needed help. She allowed me to use their phone and I called roadside assistance and told them that my car broke down on the side of the road. They told me due to the distance, they won't be able to reach me for a few days. I sighed and said thank you and hung up the phone. The waitress asked me if she could do anything else for me, and knowing I would have to stay out in my RV for a few days, asked her for a menu, deciding I might as well get myself some food. I looked at the menu and decided to get a burger and some fries. She told me the price, and I reached in my wallet to go and get the money, but quickly became upset when I realized I didn't have enough money to get the food. I was about to get up and leave when the man from the third booth got up and said that he would pay for my food. The waitress took his money and walked off. I turned to the man and told him that he was a lifesaver. He told me no problem and introduced himself as Mike and asked me what was I doing out there. I told him my predicament and he offered me to stay with his family. I said sure, and after a few more minutes of talking, the waitress came back with my food and Mike invited me over to his booth to go meet his family. He introduced me to his wife, Cheryl, his son, Bobby, and his daughter, Emily. I introduced myself to all of them, and they told me it was nice to meet me. They then asked me what did I do, and I told them I was a photographer. I take pictures around the world, and after I'm done editing them, I sell them to the highest bidder. They all became intrigued and asked me a bunch of questions like, how expensive is it? How much time does it take? And do I like my job? After answering all their questions, I finally got to ask them what do they do. Mike and Cheryl told me they were both surgeons and they met while they were in college getting their degree. Bobby told me he was a carpenter, and Emily said she didn't know what she wanted to do yet. I laughed and told her that she was 18 and she would have plenty of time to do that. Oh, I forgot to tell you their ages. Mike was 53, Cheryl was 48, and Bobby was the same age as me, 24. After a few more minutes of talking, we all got up to leave and headed towards Mike's pickup truck. Me and Bobby got into the back and we started heading towards their house. They have a beautiful mansion. It was so big, I never seen anything like it. Their yard stretches for miles, and I can't even see the end of it. The inside of their house is just as beautiful. When you first walk in, you see a beautiful chandelier, the top of their ceiling. Their walls and floor were painted white, and I could even see my reflection. When you go into the living room, they have a nice big fireplace with a white couch and a white tiger rug. They have they have a nice big picture on their wall of two wolves, one white, one black. Then you move to the kitchen. They have a big island with state-of-the-art kitchen utensils everywhere. After admiring their house for a few minutes, Mike told everyone to come back to the kitchen and invited everyone to drink. Me not being a heavy drinker, I declined. After a bit of peer pressure and a little bit of flirting from Emily, I decided to take 4 to 5 shots. I honestly overestimated myself and started feeling a little woozy. The last thing I remember is Mike asking me if I was okay, then I passed out. When I first woke up, there was a big bright light in my face, and I honestly thought I may have been dead. But after a few minutes, my eyes adjusted to light, and I saw Mike and Cheryl standing over me with a bunch of surgical equipment right next to them. Mike said he forgot something, and they both left out of the room to go get it. I looked around for a few minutes, but still feeling a little woozy. My vision was kind of blurry, but after a while, I started to regain my sight, and I noticed in the far left corner of the room, there was a man with his torso ripped open and all his organs gone. When I saw that, I instantly knew I had to get out of here and started fighting against my restraints. I managed to get my right arm out and was about to get my left arm out when I heard Mike and Cheryl coming back. Noticing a scalpel near me, I hurried up and grabbed it with my right hand and shoved it back in to the restraints before Mike and Cheryl entered back into the room. I heard Mike say, "Are you ready?" Then I heard some high-powered medical tool go off. Then I heard Cheryl say, "Yes, honey, we're all ready." Then I felt the restraints begin to loosen. I knew this was my only option, and I wasn't going to waste it. And I slashed at the first person next to me. That just so happened to be Cheryl. She clutched at the wound as blood started spewing out of it. Mike screamed and charged at me. Me still being a little disoriented, he tackled me to the ground and knocked the scalpel out of my hand pretty easily. He started punching me and screamed, "You bastard, I'ma kill you." I used my fingers to gouge out his eyes. He screamed out in pain and fell off me, and I started to try to get up, but he grabbed my leg and started trying to pull me back down. I kicked him in his face about 3 to 4 times before I felt his nose break. I then got up and ran into what seems like a man cave. I got to about halfway across the room before he caught up to me again and tackled me to the ground. He started punching me again, but I managed to get my feet under him and kick him off me. He went flying over my head and hit the ground hard. We both quickly stood up at the same time and started fighting. We were punching and kicking each other and throwing each other around. At one point in the fight, I managed to get the best of him and I had him pinned against the wall. I started choking him and he started punching me in my stomach. I let go and he kicked me to the ground.
Right next to him on the wall was a medieval sword and he grabbed it and he started slashing and swinging at me.
I managed to dodge and weave 3 of his strikes. Then I landed a liver shot, then got a good punch to his face. He fell to the ground and started coughing up blood. I got a little cocky and started walking up to him, and he took the opportunity and slashed me across my leg. I started to scream out in pain, and I fell to the ground. Mike clumsily got back up, and you could tell he was disoriented because he was stumbling and coughing up blood. During this momentary distraction, I noticed there was a table leg right next to me, and I crawled over to go get it. Mike started walking up towards me to finish the job. He raised the sword over his head, but before he could deliver the final blow, I kicked him in his leg. He fell to the ground, and the sword just barely missed my face. And with the table leg, I started beating him upside his head. I kept hitting him and kept hitting him, and kept hitting him and kept hitting him. I think I hit him about 10 times. To be honest, this is going to sound a little psychopathic, but I didn't feel anything after I did it. No remorse, no guilt, no shame. I just got up, picked up the sword, and went upstairs. When I got upstairs, I saw Bobby and Emily coming down the stairs. I noticed Bobby had a metal baseball bat in his hand. Then I heard him say, "Mom, Dad, is everything okay?" We heard some scream. He didn't even get to finish the whole sentence before he saw me with the sword in hand and blood all over me. He screamed at the top of his lungs and swung the bat at me. Then he told Emily to go downstairs and check on their mom and dad. Bobby started swinging the bat at me, and I managed to dodge and weave some of his strikes. But due to my injuries and already being a bit tired from fighting with Mike, I knew I wasn't going to be able to keep this up for much longer. I knew I had to start going on the offensive and started using the sword to parry and block some of his attacks in order to knock him off balance so I can deliver the killing blow. After a few seconds of this, my sword ends up breaking. In my shock, Bobby is able to deliver a strike to my ribs. I scream out in pain, and he kicks me into a nearby chair. He then lifts the bat over his head and charges at me. I know this will be my all or nothing shot, so with the little remaining sword I still have, I thrust it out and I get him in the stomach. He stares at me in shock and he starts backing up with the sword still in his stomach. He then falls to the ground and dies. Emily then comes up the stairs screaming for her brother, and she sees him on the ground dead. She then pulls out a knife and charges at me. I pick up the bat and with one swift motion hit her on her head. I crack her skull and she's dead. Instantly, I fall to my knees and I use her phone to call the cops. I tell them that the residents of this house is trying to kill me, and right after, I pass out. I wake up in a hospital room. My ribs are bandaged up because they are broken, and I have bruises all over my body. I honestly feel terrible. A police officer is standing right next to me. He takes my statement down. Then he tells me, "Thank you." I ask him why, and he says it's because been trying to get these guys for years, but never had enough proof. He tells me that they were a family of serial killers and they killed people and harvested their organs. He says I was honestly lucky to be alive. I guess moral of the story is don't talk to strangers.